the team leader for the transaction advisory services for Nairobi, Nakuru, Mau Summit. And it's getting serious because the request for qualification is out for this project. After 1.5 years of feasibility studies, various deliberations, we have been able to structure a project which I think is viable, bankable, and is of interest to you as investors and lenders. And I would like to present to you the details of this project. And you're going to hear some repetition with previous presentations and with forthcoming presentations. But then again, repetition is the mother of perfection. First, a slide as advised by our lawyers to ensure that we are not liable for any issues that arise from this presentation. Good. In a nutshell, what is this project about? The project is a PPP with a contract period of 30 years. It includes the widening and improving of 175 kilometers of highway. This is going to be the major bulk of the investment required. And when we talk about widening, we're talking about adding lane capacity. It also includes strengthening of 58 kilometers of existing road. It also includes developing 3 kilometers of a great separation. We are thinking about an elevated expressway through Nakuru town. And as said, for a period of 30 years, it includes the operations and maintenance of 1,000 lane kilometers. So we're talking about a serious project. What are the main components? The main components are three-wise. One, it includes the Nairobi Southern Bypass, it includes the A8 from Gitaru up to Mau Summit, and it includes the A8 South from Rironi to Naivasha. And there is a complicating element in this respect, because if you're going to look at Google Maps for these roads, you won't find them under the number of A8 or A8 South, because this road classification has come into place just recently. So when you look at Google Maps, you will find the Gitaru Mau Summit Highway classified as the A104. The A8 South, Rironi Naivasha, is classified as the B3 C88, just to make it easy for you. All right, we're talking here about a vital part of the country's road network. If you look at this map on the right side, you see the population density, and you can conclude that this road connects the major population centers of the country. It provides a transport link for around 6 million people. As already indicated, it is part of the Northern Corridor, the main corridor linking Mombasa, the port of Mombasa, with the capital and onwards to Uganda, Rwanda, and so on. So it's vital for the economy of this country. For those of you who come from Europe, you may know the situation in the Netherlands, my country, where we have the port of Rotterdam, the largest port in Europe. And obviously the roads and rail connection of that port will also be vital for the country of the Netherlands. So in that sense, it's very similar to the situation we have here in Kenya. Okay, the Nairobi Southern Bypass. And you may have learned that there is already a bit of confusion, and I'm sorry for that. Engineer Kamau talked about 4 projects, talked about 5 projects. There was a bit of confusion. The reason for that is the following. Initially, this program started off with 5 projects. Nairobi Southern Bypass was a standalone project. So all the various transaction advisors prepared their feasibility study. And for the Nairobi Southern Bypass, it was concluded that it would make much more sense to have it integrated with the Nairobi-Nakuru Mau Summit Highway in order to have further economies of scale and make this project also much more attractive for prospective bidders. And the peculiarity with this project is it's a road that is already completed. It was opened on the 1st of November of this year. It has been constructed in the last 4 years by China Road and Bridge Corporation at a cost of around $200 million, resulting in a 4-lane carriageway over a distance of 28 kilometers. We're talking about a good road. This is a short 2-minute video giving you a bit of an impression on the characteristics of this road.
In a bid to make a project successful for the 28.6-kilometer Nairobi Southern Bypass, which was built at a cost of 18.7 billion shillings and is now fully operational. First was the Nairobi National Park.
Today we have given 53 acres on the Southern Bypass for the road to pass through. We've had a lot of deliberations on this. We are aware that wildlife and human beings need to coexist. This road is required in Nairobi, so we have had to make a very difficult decision to agree to give easement, not a title, give easement for Kenha to build a road through the southern part of Nairobi.
The Nairobi Southern Bypass is the third of 4 bypasses to be completed geared towards easing traffic congestion in Nairobi. Among the other obstacles it faced was the design process to ensure maximum safety, given that it will skirt around the perimeter of the Wilson Airport. The bypass currently handles 3,000 vehicles per hour and is already providing relief to commuters and businessmen alike.
Wakati wa mwanzo hatukuwa na kazi kulingana transport ilikuwa high na hatukuwa na magari. Kwa sasa hivi magari ni mingi juu barabara iko. Kwa hivyo kazi iko sawa.
Niona faida juu kitambo tulikuwa tunasongomana na magari jams, na sasa hivi tunaenda tu kwa haraka, tuna save time.
Besides the time saved navigating away from the city center along the northern corridor, the bypass has a benefit which cannot be quantified monetarily.
Ukweli wa mambo ni kuwa hii bypass vyenye maloli ilikuwa diverted, ikalazimishwa iwe inapita hii bypass, accidents imekuwa minimized kwa yakiwe. Roli ilikuwa inawekwa free kutoka huko, sasa tuseme ikipanda za base, inateremuka ikiwa free, inaregeshwa paka Westlands ndiye itakanyagwa break.
The 16.5-kilometer western bypass, which will link the southern bypass at Gitaru with Ruaka on the northern bypass, will be built by Kenha at a cost of 17.3 billion shillings. Alex Mwangi, NTV.
I also don't speak Swahili, for those of you, but I got the impression that the people they had interviewed and responded in Swahili were very much satisfied with this road. One of the benefits of this road is that it substantially has reduced the travel time, even up to 3 hours. For those of you not coming from Kenya, and if you wonder where this road is, most likely you have landed here at Nairobi Airport. You have used the so-called Mombasa Road in order to get into Nairobi. If you use that road, halfway you will have a major junction, and that is the start of the Southern Bypass. Now, and if you would use that Southern Bypass over a distance of 28 kilometers, you would end up at a place called Gitaru. There, a 4-lane dual carriageway starts over a distance of about 12 kilometers. Now, the interesting feature with this section is the following, that the government has already received funding from the World Bank to widen this 12 kilometers into 6 lanes, plus an additional 2 service lanes. Already, a contract has been awarded to China Wuyi, and it is scheduled to have these works completed by 2019. So, for this section, you're not required to make any substantial investments. Those will be required for the A8, as said, formerly known as the A104, from Rironi all the way up to Mau Summit. over a distance of 175 kilometers, and today it is a single carriageway, mostly through plain terrain, occasional passes of rolling and hilly terrains. You see some pictures of the current conditions of the road. It's not in a very poor conditions. I mean, the condition is fair to even good on some of the stretches, but the problem is capacity. This road also crosses through Nakuru town, the fourth largest city in Kenya, population of around 300,000 people. Within Nakuru, this road is the main urban road. Over a distance of 15 kilometers, it is a 4-lane dual carriageway and has about 4 roundabouts. The issue is that there's limited space available for widening, as you can imagine, which is also one of the reasons why we have recommended to go up with an elevated expressway. We have reviewed various options, go south, go north, have a bypass, etc., but all of those options were not very attractive from an economic and even a financial perspective. Parallel to the A104, or the A8, there's a road connection which is called the A8 South. So the picture from Google Maps demonstrates how this road is parallel to the main road from Nairobi to Nakuru. That road is also a single carriageway. It has known as the B3C88, and also the B3 continues onwards to Lake Victoria and up to Tanzania. This road is much more in a hilly terrain, and the conditions of the pavement are not in a very good condition. One of the reasons for it being the following: in order to make the existing A8 more attractive for use, the government had decided to divert all freight traffic that was using the Northern Corridor to use the B3C88. So all the heavy traffic was using this road, which obviously has caused a lot of damage to this road. What kind of traffic are we talking about? On average, there are around 16,000 vehicles per day between Nairobi and Nakuru. Obviously, the traffic peak comes in Nakuru town, where you have traffic levels that exceed 40,000 vehicles per day. After Nakuru, the traffic drops somewhat to around 11,000 vehicles per day. The A8 South, the B3C88, attracts around 8,500 vehicles per day at the moment. And as you can expect in an emerging economy, these traffic figures are expected to grow substantially in the coming years, driven by the expected growth in GDP and the expected growth in the population. What is the traffic profile? Well, about 43% of the vehicles that use this road are cars. Cars that use this road not so much for through traffic, but mainly for local traffic, so within the catchment area of the road. About 27% is freight traffic. As said, freight coming mostly from the port of Mombasa, using the Northern Corridor to transport it further on to Uganda, Rwanda, Congo, etc. 18% are so-called matatus, which are small buses, and which are very popular in this country. Okay, let's summarize the road conditions. When we talk about you see the number of kilometers listed here for the different road sections, and you see the capacity. A8 Gitaru-Rironi will have 6 lanes in 2019. Rironi up to Mau Summit has 2 lanes except for Nakuru town, where there are 4 lanes. The A8 South from Rironi to Naivasha has 2 lanes. The Nairobi Southern Bypass has 4 lanes as recently opened. In terms of geometrics, Gitaru-Rironi, obviously it's going to be constructed or reconstructed in the coming years, so the geometrics are good. With regard to Rironi-Mau Summit, they're mostly fair. With regard to the A8 South, Rironi-Naivasha, in some areas they're poor, so there are issues that need to be addressed. Nairobi Southern Bypass, good. Pavement condition, for most of the roads, it's good, except for the A8 South, which, as said, is being used heavily by freight traffic. Level of service, it's a bit difficult to say for the Nairobi Southern Bypass. Obviously, that road has just been opened, so we still have to see how the traffic will evolve on that section. For the A8, it's reasonable. Saturation for several sections. But then again, if we look at the travel time, it will now take you, on average, 4 hours to travel from Nairobi all the way up to Mau Summit. 4 hours for a distance of just a bit more than 200 kilometers. Obviously, that has a huge economic downside. It would make much more sense to have travel times of around 2 or 2.5 hours. So we're losing economic value because of the limited capacity of the road. Critical for this travel time is the fact that it's a single carriageway. So the travel time is hugely impacted by the slow-moving vehicles which use this road. And the fact that it's a single carriageway, which is also used intensively by slow-moving vehicles, is also a critical issue for the road safety. Some of them have referred to this road as a death trap. It has been qualified as one of the most dangerous roads in the world. The road has attracted 465 fatal accidents in the period 2012-2014. To give you a bit of comparison, if you look at the number of fatal accidents per 100 kilometer, which is more than 100 for this road, and you would compare that to the Netherlands, we have 3. So there is an urgent need to do something about this road, to widen the capacity in order to make it more safer and to reduce the travel times. So, the main objective of the project is to expand the road capacity and improve the road quality between Nairobi and Mau Summit in order to accommodate the increasing traffic in a safe and sustainable manner. As such, it includes the operation and the maintenance of the Nairobi Southern Bypass, as that road has already been completed. It includes the operation and maintenance of the A8 between Gitaru and Rironi, as that road is going to be completed or going to be improved by a third party. It includes the widening to a 4-lane separated highway and the operation and maintenance of this highway, the A8 from Rironi to Mau Summit. And it includes the strengthening and the operation and maintenance of the existing A8 South from Rironi to Naivasha. Does it include only pavement? No, obviously not. It also includes the rehabilitation and the construction of the respective structures and facilities. 3 interchanges, 9 intersections, 4 bridges, 34 pedestrian or cattle underpass, 5 foot-over bridges, 3 overpass, 3 vehicle underpass, 4 railway underpass, 2 railway overpass, 11 wildlife crossings, 240 culverts, and 23 kilometers of street lighting. So a lot of work has to be done. Obviously, that leads to a substantial cost for the project. In total, around $550 million. Hey, wait a minute, that figure is different from the figure earlier presented by DG Kenna. Well, that figure included also the land acquisition and the interest during construction. This is solely the construction cost. And as you can see, the majority of that relates to the widening of the A8 Rironi-Nakuru. It includes also some $40 million for the A8 South. This is a provision for some scheduled improvements to this road facility. Right. As said, traffic is going to increase, so there will be a need for augmentation in the future. The initial works, to be completed hopefully within 2 or 3 years, include a 4-laning of the A8, 4-laning of Nakuru Mau Summit, the 3.7 elevated corridor in Nakuru town, and strengthening of the A8 South. The critical issue is in Nakuru town, so we expect a need for augmentation in 2030, increasing the 4-lane up to 6 lanes in Nakuru town. Obviously, this is subject to the development of traffic. So this could be 2030, it could be 2029, it could be 2031. Provisions for this will be included in the project agreement. In 2035, it is scheduled to further widen the capacity between Rironi and Nakuru up to 6 lanes. In 2040, to have 6 lanes between Nakuru and Mau Summit and 8 lanes in Nakuru town. And in 2047, the contract will end. One of the good things of this project is that the need for land acquisition, which is typically one of the main reasons for delay of projects in Africa, well, anywhere in the world. The good thing is that the number of land required is limited. For Nairobi Nakuru, so the initial stretch, only 6 hectares is required, so which is only a marginal percentage of the total right-of-way that is required for a 4-lane. If we would expand it to a 6-lane, we would need to acquire 57 hectares. But as said, that is only required, the 6-laning, in 2035. So we have time available to acquire those 57 hectares of land. Between Nakuru and Mau Summit, the situation is a bit more complicated because we're going to need about 86 hectares of land. So what we're going to do is to have a provision to start with Rironi Nakuru, and that once we have the land available, the full right-of-way available for the section between Nakuru and Mau Summit, we will start with that. All right. With regard to the environmental and social impact, we have already prepared a preliminary environmental and social impact assessment in line with the guidelines of NEMA, the National Environment Management Authority. We've already included in the scope of work recommended measures for mitigating adverse environmental and social impact. This will be included in the reference outline design that will be made available to prospective bidders that have pre-qualified. The concessionaire will be expected to prepare an environmental impact study for the formal approval of NEMA and subsequent implementation of the project. But as you may know, this is in line with international practices. Now let's have a look at the PPP structure. You may have heard the word tolling already, and it is indeed the government's intention to introduce tolling. We have given a lot of thought on how to structure this project. Should it be your conventional toll road, or should it be a different model? Well, learning from experience elsewhere, and in particular also in this region, we decided to minimize as much as possible the risk for prospective investors, so to take away the revenue risk for prospective investors, and to apply the concept of so-called service payments, or in some jurisdiction also known as availability payments, a concept where the concessionaire will be in much more control of the amount of money he's going to receive from the services he provides. But the government will still have to fund these availability payments. So for that purpose, there is a need to introduce tolling, how sensitive it may be. And the government is considering to award a contract to a third party, a toll operator, not only for this project, but for all the PPP projects that are being prepared at the moment. So there will be a third-party toll operator which will be responsible for collecting the tolls, either through conventional tolling plazas with semi-automated barriers, or through electronic toll collection, installing gantries across the roads, and by providing tags to the cars. So that will obviously be the most ideal scenario where there will be maximum free flow. The proceeds of tolling will be allocated to a dedicated funding facility, which will be used solely for the purpose of servicing the service payments, so that the concessionaire will not be at risk for any budgetary changes to this. No, there will be money dedicated for the purpose of paying the concessionaire. And this structure also leads to the following risk allocation, largely in line with international practice, but with the most distinctive feature that the government is going to retain the revenue risk. Okay? So the concessionaire will have your typical risks like design, like construction, like the performances, etc., but the revenue risk the government will retain. In terms of timetable, challenging, yes. Ambitious, yes. Doable, yes, if we all get our mind to it. The request for qualification is out. You are expected to submit your request for qualification in January, the second week. I think it is the 9th of January. So for those of you who are planning a Christmas holiday, sorry, we can start the works as soon as possible. The Swahili word I know, asante sana. Thank you.